Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Saira Mujtaba, and with me is Renuka RS, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to pay an official visit to Germany, Denmark and France from 2nd to 4th May. A Janta court in Myanmar sentences deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 5-year jail for corruption. Kremlin says that halt of natural gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria is result of unfriendly steps against Russia. World Bank to provide $600 million financial assistance to Sri Lanka to make payments for essential imports. Border halt at Indo-Bangladesh border in Meghalaya opens after a gap of 2 years. Top Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal and Kidambi Srikanth win their respective opening matches in Badminton Asia Championships in Manila. And in IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad set a victory target of 196 runs before Gujarat Titans at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to Germany, Denmark and France from the 2nd to 4th of May. This will be the Prime Minister's first visit abroad this year. On the first leg of his visit in Berlin, the Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. The two leaders will co-chair the 6th edition of the India-Germany Intergovernmental Consultations or IGC. The biennial IGC is a unique dialogue format that also sees participation of several ministers from both sides. This will be the Prime Minister's first IGC with Chancellor Scholz and also the first such government-to-government consultation of the new German government, which assumed office in December last year. During the visit, Prime Minister and Chancellor Scholz would also jointly address a business event. Prime Minister Modi will leave for Copenhagen next on an official visit at the invitation of Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen. He will also participate in the second India-Nordic Summit being hosted by Denmark. During the second India-Nordic Summit, Prime Minister Modi will also interact with other Nordic leaders, which include Prime Minister Katrin Jakobsdottir of Iceland, Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Støre of Norway, Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson of Sweden and Prime Minister Sanna Marin of Finland. The summit will focus on subjects like post-pandemic economic recovery, climate change, innovation and technology, renewable energy, evolving global security scenario and India-Nordic cooperation in the Arctic region. The first India-Nordic summit took place in 2018 in Stockholm. On the last leg of the tour, Prime Minister Modi will briefly stop over in Paris and meet President of France Emmanuel Macron. India and France are celebrating 75 years of their diplomatic relations this year, and the meeting between the two leaders will set a more ambitious agenda of the strategic partnership.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on Rasina Dialogue and India-EU ties.
Over the years, the Rasina Dialogue has emerged as India's premier conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics, addressing the most challenging issues facing the global community. Every year, leaders in politics, business, media and civil society converge in New Delhi to discuss the state of the world and explore opportunities for cooperation on a wide range of issues. The dialogue is structured as a multi-talented, cross-sectoral discussion involving heads of states, cabinet ministers and local government officials who are joined by thought leaders from the private sector, media and the academia. The conference is hosted by the Observer Research Foundation in partnership with the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. Several institutions, organizations and individuals joined the deliberations to convey the message of the conference. The Rasina Dialogue 2022 presented around 100 sessions with over 200 speakers from 90 countries. Foreign ministers of Argentina, Armenia, Guyana, Nigeria, Norway, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Madagascar, Netherlands, the Philippines, Poland, Portugal and Slovenia attended the event. The participating foreign ministers have been involved in official engagements with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The theme of the Rasina Dialogue this year is Terra Nova, Impassioned, Impatient, Imperiled. It is based on 6 thematic pillars: rethinking democracy, trade, tech and ideology, end of multilateralism, a networked global order. Water Caucasus, Turbulent Tides in the Indo-Pacific. Communities Inc. First responders to health, development and planet. Achieving green transitions. Common imperative, diverging realities. Samson versus Goliath. The persistent and relentless tech wars. The 7th edition of the Rasina Dialogue was inaugurated by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission. The European Commission President lauded India's role as the world's largest and the most vibrant democracy. She said, every 5 years, when more than 1.3 billion Indians vote, the world watches in awe. Democracy was born in Europe more than 2000 years ago, but is home now in India. The EU believes that democracy best delivers for citizens. Both India and the EU believe in the rule of law. She made a specific mention that for the European Union, strengthening and energizing partnership with India is a priority. Both economies thrive in common rules of fair competition. It is worthwhile to mention that EU and India share the same interests in safe trading routes, in seamless supply chains and in a free and open Indo-Pacific. Both EU and India are driving forces in the digital revolution. This makes us natural partners. India and European Union are the key in transitioning into a more sustainable and green future for our planet. The Indo-Pacific is home to half of the world's population and accounts for 60% of the global GDP. In the words of the European Commission President, a shared vision is that Indo-Pacific region remains free and open, becomes more interconnected, prosperous, secure and resilient with an open and rules-based security architecture that serves all interests. Deepening their engagement, both India and European Union are now looking forward to set up EU-India Trade and Technology Council. It will address the challenges of trade, trusted technology and security. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said the European powers had not reacted to challenges to the rules-based order in Asia for almost a decade. He reminded that the world should remember what happened in Afghanistan less than a year ago when an entire civil society was thrown under the bus by the world. On the Ukraine-Russia conflict, Dr. Jaishankar reiterated that there won't be winners out of the conflict. A way has to be found for diplomatic dialogue. For that, the fighting has to stop. Underlining the spirit of engagement, the External Affairs Minister said it's better to engage with the world as to who we are rather than pleasing the world by being a pale imitation of what they are. He stated that the idea that we need to get approval from other quarters has to be put behind. In his official interactions with the European Commission President Ms. von der Leyen, Prime Minister Modi said India has spoken to both the Ukrainian and the Russian leaders. It has called for cessation of fighting, return to diplomacy and dialogue. Mr. Modi had stressed with President Putin and President Zelensky the need to respect sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. India hopes that the peace initiative undertaken by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will bear fruit and Moscow and Kiev will return to the negotiating table for resolution of disputes amicably. As eminent speakers and thought leaders shared positive vibes at the Rasina Dialogue, India-European Union partnership is all set to get a shot in the arm. The dialogue and diplomacy will continue to carry forward the strength of India's relations with the countries across the globe.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said the COVID-19 challenge is not over yet and stressed the need to remain alert. In his virtual interaction with the state chief ministers on COVID-19 situation in India, Mr. Modi said the Omicron and its variants can still cause havoc as witnessed in the European countries. The Prime Minister highlighted that the country has to work on their suggestions with a preemptive, proactive and collective approach. Mr. Modi emphasized that the priority should be to vaccinate all eligible children as soon as possible, and special campaigns need to be run in this direction. The Prime Minister said it is a matter of pride for every Indian that 96% of the adult population in the country has got at least one dose of COVID vaccine.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discussed the progress of bilateral cooperation with his Portuguese counterpart João Cravinho on Wednesday. The ministers exchanged views on the Ukraine conflict as well. In a tweet, Dr. Jaishankar appreciated the strong and consistent support extended by Portugal in building our ties with the European Union. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will pay an official visit to Bangladesh and Bhutan from the 28th to the 30th of April. During the visit, Dr. Jaishankar will call on Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. He will also hold discussions with Bangladesh Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen. The last visit by him to Bangladesh was in March last year. Welcoming the visit of External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, Bangladesh Foreign Minister Momen said the two countries have been enjoying a sweet relation and they will discuss all major bilateral issues. Dr. Jaishankar will be Bhutan's first high-level visitor from abroad since March 2020, reflecting the great importance both countries attach to this bilateral relationship. During the visit, the External Affairs Minister will receive an audience with King of Bhutan, Jigme Khesar Namgyal Wangchuk, and call on Bhutanese Prime Minister Dr. Lote Tshering. He will also meet his Bhutanese counterpart, Dr. Tandi Dorji. India and Bhutan share a unique and time-tested bilateral relationship characterized by utmost trust, goodwill and mutual understanding.
In Myanmar, a Janta court on Wednesday sentenced People's leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 5 years in jail after finding her guilty in the first of 11 corruption cases. The Nobel laureate, who led Myanmar for 5 years before being forced out from power in a coup in early 2022, has been charged with at least 18 offences which carry a combined maximum jail term of nearly 190 years if found guilty. The case centred on allegations that 76-year-old Suu Kyi accepted 11.4 kilogram of gold and cash payments totaling $600,000 from her protege turned accuser, from a Yangon Chief Minister Phyo Min Thein. Meanwhile, Suu Kyi had denied the charges and called the allegations absurd. Russian President Vladimir Putin has told visiting UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres that he is hopeful that the conflict in Ukraine would come to an end as negotiations are underway. While speaking to the UN chief on Wednesday, Mr. Putin categorically rejected the accusations that Russian military committed atrocities in Bucha outside Kyiv. Mr. Guterres appealed to Moscow and Kyiv to allow the UN to set up aid and evacuation corridors to help civilians in Ukraine. The UN chief also met Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov before holding talks with Mr. Putin. He stressed that many civilians are being killed and hundreds of thousands of people are in life-threatening conditions because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Earlier, in an interview to State TV, Mr. Lavrov said that NATO is engaged in a proxy war with Russia that could escalate into a world war with nuclear weapons. He said the risk of escalation into a world war is serious and real, and it should not be underestimated. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said Mr. Lavrov's comments are aimed at scaring countries off supporting Ukraine.
The Kremlin said on Wednesday the halt of natural gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria over the refusal to pay in rubles was a result of unfriendly actions towards Russia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told reporters that the need for a new payment method was a result of unprecedented unfriendly steps in the economic sphere and the financial sector which were taken against Russia by unfriendly countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin last month had said that Russia will only accept payment for deliveries in its national currency, with buyers required to set up ruble accounts or have their taps turned off. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
U.S. President Joe Biden's administration is taking steps to expand availability of the life-saving COVID-19 antiviral treatment, Paxlovid, seeking to reassure doctors that there is ample supply for people at high risk of severe illness or death from the virus. Paxlovid, produced by Pfizer, was first approved in December. The White House is now moving to raise awareness of the pill and taking steps to make it easier to access. Meanwhile, 3 out of every 4 children in the United States have been infected with the coronavirus, and more than half of all Americans had signs of previous infections. A Japanese health ministry panel greenlit a plan on Wednesday to allow a 4th COVID-19 vaccine shot to be given to senior citizens and those with underlying medical conditions. The plan states that the fourth jabs of vaccine will be administered to the eligible recipients 5 months after they have received their third shot. Those eligible for the extra booster shot will comprise seniors aged 60 years old or over and will also include those older than 18 who suffer from certain underlying medical conditions.
Malaysia will ease more COVID-19 curves from the start of next month, including lifting restrictions on those who are not vaccinated against the coronavirus and scrapping the need to wear masks outdoors, its health minister said. The Southeast Asian nation has seen some of the worst COVID-19 outbreaks in the region, but infection surges have since subsided amid a ramped-up vaccination program. Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said people will now be able to enter public premises regardless of their vaccination status, except those who have tested positive for COVID-19 or unvaccinated travelers undergoing quarantine. Malaysia will also remove pre-flight and on-arrival testing requirements for fully vaccinated travelers and those who have just recovered from COVID-19, Khairi said. Masks will remain mandatory for indoor activities and on public transport. The World Bank has agreed to provide Sri Lanka with $600 million in financial assistance to help meet payment requirements for essential imports. A report.
Sri Lankan President's Media Division said in a statement on Tuesday that the World Bank would release $400 million shortly. According to the statement, the World Bank said that it would continue to help Sri Lanka to overcome the current economic crisis. Sri Lanka's worst financial crisis since independence in 1948 was caused by a drastic drop in its reserves that dropped 70% over the past 2 years, hitting $1.93 billion at the end of March. This left Colombo struggling to pay for essentials, including fuel, medicines and food. Earlier this month, Sri Lanka kicked off talks with the International Monetary Fund IMF for financial assistance. Before the IMF finalizes a program for Sri Lanka, the country needs $3 to $4 billion in bridge financing to help meet its essential expenses. India has helped Sri Lanka by assisting with $1.9 billion. Sri Lanka's Finance Minister Ali Sabri said Colombo would also seek assistance from the Asian Development Bank. The Sri Lankan government has also appealed to multiple countries and multilateral organizations for bridge financing until the IMF comes up with its aid. In a related development, Sri Lanka has announced that it would sell long-term visas to attract foreign currency after the island nation ran out of dollars to pay even for food and fuel. Foreigners who deposit a minimum of $100,000 locally will be granted permission to live and work in Sri Lanka for 10 years under the Golden Paradise visa program, the government said. Thousands of people remain camped outside President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's seafront office to demand his resignation. Trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange was halted 3 times on Tuesday as prices plunged, with the blue chip S&P index closing down 9.75%. Abhishek Mukhopadhyay for World News, All India Radio.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the shared legacy of India-Fiji relation is based on the sense of service of humanity. He said despite the vast ocean separating the two countries, the culture of both nations has kept India-Fiji connected. In his video message at the opening of Sri Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in Fiji today, Mr. Modi said the two countries' relations are based on mutual respect and strong people-to-people ties.
हमारे रिश्ते आपसी सम्मान, सहयोग और हमारे लोगों के मजबूत आपसी संबंधों पर टिके हैं। भारत का ये सौभाग्य है कि हमें फिजी के सामाजिक आर्थिक विकास में भूमिका निभाने, योगदान करने का अवसर मिलता रहा है। बीते दशकों में भारत फिजी के रिश्ते हर क्षेत्र में लगातार आगे बढ़े हैं, मजबूत हुए हैं।
Mr. Modi said the inaugurated hospital is a symbol of the relationship between the two countries and another chapter in the shared journey of India and Fiji. The Prime Minister bowed to Brahmleen Sri Sathya Sai Baba, saying his sapling of human service has grown into a huge banyan tree, serving the entire humanity. He recalled that Sri Sathya Sai Baba freed spiritualism from rituals and linked it with people's welfare. Mr. Modi also greeted his Fijian counterpart, Frank Bainimarama, on his birthday today and expressed hope that under his leadership, the relationship between the two countries will continue to get stronger. The Union Cabinet of India has given its approval to the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between India and Chile for cooperation in disability sector. The Cabinet also accorded approval to the opening of a new Indian mission in Lithuania in 2022. The opening of Indian mission in Lithuania will help expand India's diplomatic footprint, deepen political relations and strategic cooperation, enable growth of bilateral trade, investment and economic engagements.
The border hut at Indo-Bangladesh border in Meghalaya was opened on Tuesday after a gap of 2 years. The decision to open the border hut between Balat in East Khasi Hills district of Meghalaya and Lowa Ghar at Dalora in Sunamganj district of Bangladesh was taken by the Joint Border Hut Management Committee on the 19th of this month. The Border Hut Management Committee has also decided to reopen 2 more huts next month. At present, India and Bangladesh have 7 established border huts and 9 more new border huts are in the pipeline. Border huts enable local residents on both sides of the border to trade the local produce. Russia is withdrawing from the United Nations tourism body, the UN World Tourism Organization, ahead of a vote to suspend Moscow's membership over its military operation of Ukraine. The UNWTO said in a tweet that Russia has announced its intention to withdraw from UNWTO, adding that Russia's suspension is effective immediately. The UNWTO announced in March that it wanted to suspend Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. The decision must be approved by 2/3 of its 159 member states at a 2-day extraordinary General Assembly, which got underway in Madrid on Wednesday. The UNWTO said the vote will go ahead even though Russia has said it is withdrawing from the body to give member states their say.
Top Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal and Kidavi Srikanth won their respective opening matches, but it was curtains for Lakshya Sen and B. Sai Praneeth in Badminton Asia Championships in Manila on Wednesday. 2-time Olympic medalist Sindhu was made to toil hard by Chinese Taipei's Pai Yupo as the 4th-seeded Indian came back from a game down to win 18-21, 27-25, 21-9 in a marathon women's singles opening round match which lasted for 1 hour and 17 minutes. London Olympics bronze medalist Saina also fought off a strong challenge from her opponent to register a 21-15, 17-21, 21-13 win over Sim Eugene of South Korea. In men's singles competition, 7th-seeded Kidavi Srikanth progressed to the second round with a straight game win over Zae Yong Ing of Malaysia. Srikanth defeated his rival 22-20, 21-15. However, it turned out to be a disappointing outing for World Championships bronze medal winner Lakshya Sen, who was stunned by the unseeded Li Shifeng of China 21-12, 10-21, 19-21. Sai Praneeth lost to Jonathan Christie of Indonesia 17-21, 13-21. In IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad has set a victory target of 196 runs before Gujarat Titans in Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. In reply, Gujarat Titans were 135 for 3 in 15 overs when reports last came in. Earlier, the Titans skipper Hardik Pandya won the toss and elected to field first. The Gujarat Titans are at the top of the points table at the moment with 6 wins in 7 games. Sunrisers Hyderabad are in the second place in the points table with 5 wins.
And now a report from the business desk.
The Sensex lost 537 points or 0.94% to trade at 56,819, while the Nifty slipped 162 points or 0.94% to trade at 17,038. In global share markets, Asian stock indices traded mixed. China's Shanghai Composite Index gained 2.5% and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index added 0.1%. On the other hand, Japan's Nikkei 225 plunged 1.2%, South Korea's Kospi tumbled 1.1%, and Singapore's Straits Times ended almost flat. European share markets were up in intraday trade. Oil prices fell around 0.5% amid lingering concerns about Asian coronavirus lockdowns. However, Russia's move to cut gas supplies to Bulgaria and Poland capped the fall. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading around $104.70 per barrel. And in the forex market, the rupee appreciated 5 paisa against the US dollar. The domestic currency finished at 76 rupees and 53 paisa against the American unit. Anubha Rohatki for World News, All India Radio.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let's take a look at the press reports on China first. Chinese state media reports 3 Chinese nationals and a local were killed in an apparent suicide bombing in Karachi, Pakistan, outside the University of Karachi's Confucius Institute on Tuesday. BBC reports separatist Baloch Liberation Army said it attacked the vehicle carrying the Chinese staff. The group opposes Chinese investment in Pakistan, saying locals do not benefit. Bloomberg writes China running out of ways to stem self-made market meltdown. A strict COVID-0 policy has left it stuck in a repeat of lockdowns while other countries have turned to reopening their economies.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Kathmandu Post has carried a report of Reuters mentioning that India is prepared to take a much bigger role in global affairs and would help the world with more supplies of wheat to tame food inflation if WTO rules allow. Khabar Hub and the Kathmandu Post report that Nepal's air safety rating has increased as per the International Civil Aviation Organization safety audit.
Now let's take a look at the press reports on Pakistan. Pakistani dailies have widely covered the news on suicide attack in Karachi. Dawn reports that at least 4 people, including 3 Chinese nationals, were killed, while 4 others were injured in a suicide attack outside the University of Karachi's Confucius Institute, officials said on Tuesday. The Express Tribune writes that Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf workers staged a sit-in outside provincial offices of the Election Commission of Pakistan on Tuesday after PTI Chief Imran Khan called for a protest earlier this week. Dawn reports that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is paying his maiden official visit to Saudi Arabia on Thursday with a heavy entourage that included his 16 family members.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Balochistan. Dawn reports Balochistan Chief Minister Mir Abdul Quddus Bizenjo has asked the officials concerned to involve the local people and fishermen of Gwadar in development projects for the port city and consult them before planning a new project for it. ANI reports that India's National Investigation Agency is coordinating with the Bangladeshi officials to dismantle the network run by Pakistan's ISI-backed syndicate and pumping fake currency into India via Bangladesh, local media reported.
Now let's take a look at press reports on Afghanistan. Pajwalk News writes India has asked the global fraternity not to forget Afghanistan while focusing on the conflict in Ukraine. Pajwalk News reports that China has questioned America's claims about democracy and human rights, asking the Biden administration to lift its illegal freeze on the assets of the Afghan Central Bank. Hama Press writes that Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that the interim government of the Taliban might be recognized by Russia if they ensure inclusivity in their government.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Bangladesh. Bangladesh Foreign Minister A.K. Abdul Momen has called upon the International Organization for Migration to engage in further advocacy on the climate migration linkages, reports Prothomalo. Finance Minister A.H.M. Mustafa Kamal has said that the government is yet to take any decision on subsidy or inflation management in Bangladesh, reports Dhaka Tribune. Life Insurance Corporation Initial Public Offering IPO will open on 2nd of next month for anchor investors and from 4th to 9th of next month for the general public. Secretary of Department of Investment and Public Asset Management DIPAM Tuhin Kant Pandey in a press conference on Wednesday said LIC IPO will be the biggest in India till date despite reduced offer size from 5 to 3.5%. LIC officials said the entity is selling over 22.13 crore shares between 902 and 949 rupees per share. Total IPO value is set at 21,000 crore rupees. Policyholders will get a 60 rupees per share account and retail employees and anchor investors will get a 45 rupee discount.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to pay an official visit to Germany, Denmark and France from the 2nd to 4th May. A junta court in Myanmar sentences deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi to 5-year jail for corruption. Kremlin says that halt of natural gas supplies to Poland and Bulgaria is result of unfriendly steps against Russia. World Bank to provide $600 million financial assistance to Sri Lanka to make payments for essential imports. Border halt at Indo-Bangladesh border in Meghalaya opens after a gap of 2 years. Top Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal and Kidambi Srikanth win their respective opening matches in Badminton Asia Championships in Manila. And in IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad set a victory target of 196 runs before Gujarat Titans at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. And now before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Sierra Leone.
Vaishnav Jana ko cheli cheli dil paraye jane re faido ki apika hai kahe toye maniya mein
with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.